Just a few months ago, I was flown to the Far East by a client to help one of China's largest retail fashion groups. I can't tell you who they are, but let's just say they're like the Zara of China. The company over the previous few years had been going through a period of steady and consistent growth. However, they'd reached a point, the dreaded plateau. They reached out to me to see how I could help. I looked at where they were at, and some key areas came up that I knew for sure would help them move forward. I realized the best way to make immediate, impactful change would be to engage with the people who could actually make a change. It was upper middle management that would benefit the most, rather than the CEO, as most people would expect. People often think that you need to change the CEO to change anything, but most of the time it's actually middle management who can have the longest lasting impact. In this case, middle management were the ones who not only decided what got put into the stores, but they even influenced the research from store layouts to who the customers were or what kind of new customer they were trying to attract. They were used to a much more traditional approach, and dare I say, a little bit alpha. But then I stepped in as a designer and gave them an injection of creativity. Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out what we did and how it can help you. Welcome back. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, I'm RAMA GHEERAWO, but you can just call me Rama. I'm a designer with over 25 years experience across a wide range of industries and have worked for some of the world's biggest and best known brands. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 ideas, including tools and tips that you can use in your everyday lives to power up your productivity in ways that you might not have thought of. You've probably seen a million productivity videos on YouTube, but there's also a million types of people. So it's always good to look at a few different types of approaches to see what works best for you. Creativity is one of the most powerful ways of unleashing productivity. So let's jump straight in and get our creative juices flowing. When I was learning to be a designer, my mentor at the time let me in on one of her secrets. On a project I was working on, I was struggling to be productive and I was banging my head against the wall. Deadlines were looming and I was stressing, but getting nowhere. She suggested that rather than sitting in my studio all day stewing, I separated my day into blocks of 90 minutes. When I started doing this, I found myself getting into more of a creative flow, which naturally started to align me with my own internal creative rhythms. I soon realized that rather than trying to work all day to get the task done, my peak performance came when I separated the day into these 90-minute blocks. This has recently been backed by modern science. Neuroscientists have found that humans can maintain peak cognitive performance for about 90 minutes before needing a break to rest and refuel. This also aligns with the ultradian rhythms in the human body, which are natural cycles that occur throughout the day, also lasting between 90 to 120 minutes. Of course, as much as we're all human, we all have our own natural rhythms that will probably vary slightly. So do some experimentation and see what works for you. We've all heard the popular phrase recently of flow or flow state, and yes, it is a real and powerful thing. It was originally coined by a Hungarian psychologist by the name of Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, who also recommended working in blocks of uninterrupted time to facilitate this flow state. But it needed enough time to do so. He recommended 60 to 90 minutes to fully engage with the task. Kind of makes sense when you think about it. The next one's a really good one. It's something I use every day, and it leads on nicely from the 90-minute work blocks. My day can often get really overwhelming. I'll have a bunch of projects waiting to be looked at, Zoom meetings, calls, travel plans, and somehow in all of that, I also have to eat. Not to mention, it'll be nice to rest sometimes too. So what I learned to do early on is quite simple, almost annoyingly so. And what I'm about to do is give you a different name for something you may already know. But of course, I'll add my own design twist to this. And if nothing else, take this as a reminder to do the obvious. So simply design your day. And yes, I'm aware we've had timetables our whole lives. So let's design ours to be a little bit more fun. One of the most recognized design methods is called the double diamond process. I'm going to make a more detailed video on this later, but I'll give you a brief rundown now. It breaks your work into 4 sections. They are discover, define, develop, and deliver. We'll start with discover, where we empathize and understand the problem. So in our case, the problem is getting through a busy day. So first of all, let's give the day a full 360-degree look. Which tasks are more important or need looking at the fastest? Which is giving you the most anxiety? What other people might be involved in the day? And are they going to help or are they going to get in the way? And who might be relying on you? That too is important, as we all have responsibilities as well. Next comes define. So after having had a good look at all the tasks and variables, we can start to structure how we tackle it. This includes what order, how much time each task will take, and who might be involved, as well as what tools we might need. So now we've seen what has to be done, and we've figured out what we need. Now it's time to develop, and here we can start to prototype. And by the way, I go into more detail on prototyping on this video right here. This is where we can start to test out what we've come up with and maybe do trial run day. Remember, it's a prototype. Take out any pressure and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because we can always go back to the drawing board for tomorrow. We may need a few prototype days before we can find that polished end result. And of course, as the name suggests, it's time to deliver. So in my case, this meant using my calendar more effectively, as well as being a bit more accountable to myself for my time and sticking to the plan. At this point, we might have many prototypes or possible ways of moving forward. This is where it's time to choose. Are you going to start going through your emails at 7 a.m. and watch Netflix at 7 p.m? Or are you going to do it the other way around, having tried both? It's time to choose. And remember, it's always open to review. Life has many variables and is constantly changing, so it's good to be a little flexible, even within the confines of structure. You can always revisit the entire plan to see if it's still working for you in a few months. You'll find that having an intention around time management and adding a little design to the way it's done will actually enable a better flow and help you unleash a little creativity. So that was designing your day. I've got a similar video coming up, but with a little more detail about designing your life. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll know as soon as it's out. And the last tool for this video is to do with brainstorming methods. Alongside the double diamond, you can visualize tasks, goals, and activities in a more interactive way that you can see. These can include tools such as mind maps, storyboards, or mood boards for planning. I even use this to plan a family party. Instead of writing things down as lists or on a spreadsheet, get yourself a flip chart and go big. Stick colors and images onto a physical wall or use a tool like Pinterest. We've all seen wedding planners do it, and this is a great method to bring into your life. When I was designing one of my creative leadership workshops, I accidentally stumbled across a pretty cool method, which may or may not already exist, but it was very useful at the time. We had to develop 10 new exercises, and we only had 2 days. We all know the humble post-it note that lives on desks and fridges, in homes and offices, and we usually just use them to jot down cute messages for our family members on the fridge, or even the occasional love note. Well, this time, we put it to a more practical use. People usually brainstorm in notebooks or bits of paper. Instead, we took the post-it notes and crayons and we aimed to fill an entire wall with ideas. You might have already done stuff like this. And the point is here, number 1, remind you that it exists and is in fact very useful. And number 2, suggest a few additions to the method. In this instance, I was working with another colleague, and this is where I accidentally created what I jokingly call Zen and the Art of American Football. The idea being that Zen is all about meditation, solitude, self-reflection, and in this instance, solo ideation. Whereas American football requires teamwork, it's also a contact sport and one where no one owns the ball. Now, throw in Zen and the art of motorcycling, and it's pretty easy to see how this inspired the name. First of all, you individually take your pack of post-it notes and go off on your own and sit under a tree like the Buddha. Only kidding. A desk or couch will do. And do everything you can to create as many solutions to the problem in hand in a limited but appropriate amount of time. 5 minutes usually works for me. There's one rule. No idea is a bad idea. You're generating, not editing. After that, you come together and play football with your ideas. Share your post-it notes with each other. Explain your ideas and listen to others. At this stage, you can decide if you want to start putting some ideas on the wall, maybe ideas that you all ended up putting on your own post-it notes, or even some that you all agreed were essential. Then you do the whole cycle again, going off for a second meditation with your post-it notes alone, and seeing what else you come up with after being inspired by the ideas of others. Finally, you come together to share that second set of ideas. And here's where you can edit and select the ones you want to take forward together. I found this to be an incredibly effective way of generating many ideas in a short space of time and involving the whole team, whether there's 2 of you or 20 of you. Generative mode is your Zen meditation, where you create more and more ideas on your own. And editing mode is on the wall, where you can then see all the ideas laid out in front of you, so you can select the best ones to take forward. Having a break between the two helps you separate activities and shift into these different modes. And with that basic principle, you can also see how this could benefit ideation even on your own. In fact, some of my video ideas and scripts were born from this exact same method. Here's a quick tip. It may help if each person has their own color post-it note, or even use different colors to separate out the ideas. Or each of you could have more than one set of colors for the different categories being worked on. You can work this out depending on each situation and build your own system using this technique as a foundation. Let me know in the comments if you can think of or have used any variation of this in the past. If working solo or in a group, it might also be worth looking into digital tools such as Miro or Figma to do this on as well. There are also similar tools available, and most, if not all, will also allow for collaborative work. Coming back to the creative leadership workshop I was working on, where this method was born, we set out to create 10 exercises for the course attendees, but we didn't manage that. We actually created 18, which are still in use at the workshops to this day. Now, as I'm sure you've probably forgotten about, what happened with the executives from the Chinese fashion group from the start of this video? Using all 3 of these tools that I've just thrown at you, I got over 50 of these managers to think about the way in which they saw the entire business model. After going through not just these tools we've talked about, but a few more as well, by the end of their time with me, they figured out how to reach 20 new customer groups, from children to older people, pregnant women to farmers, and even park rangers to influencers. They looked at how the physical layout of the store could be evolved to include new parents with buggies, teenagers shopping for the first time on their own, and even how they could attract influencers to the store to try on latest collections and post about it. So there you have it. These tools not only work in business, but they can also work in your life and in your living room. There's no set prescription for any of them. Take them, have fun with them, make them your own. If you come up with anything cool yourself, let us know down below in those comments. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more, then hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you'll know straight away when I post a new video. In the meantime, here's a link to another video you'll likely enjoy. Thanks for watching. See you next time.